Hello, everybody. Mike Gould here. Hounds, Dish on Dogs. We got a great show lined up. We're going to go on the radio in about 1 minute. This show is going to be about therapy dogs, service dogs, emotional support dogs, just plain old dogs. The canine brain, as we always like to talk about. Special guest, retired Sergeant Scott Bresalia with his lovely wife Bonnie and his little serfs. We'll discuss all the different definitions once we get going here. We're going to start in a minute. Stay with us on Facebook. For those of you who don't have a life and you're watching us on Facebook on Friday, what is tonight? Monday? I feel bad for you. Have a drink and stay for our 7-minute break, and we'll see. We got Squirt. Danielle's here with her little. He's just a tramp from a hobo from Arkansas. Stay with us, kids. It's going to be so exciting.
We rehabilitated 2 dogs from Arkansas at our house. Yeah, we had one for 13 months, one for 9 months. That were deathly afraid of people. They lived with us, and we got them adopted out.
Nice. These are really
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Dish on Dogs. I'm your host, Mike Gould, founder of Houndstown, USA, home to the absolute happiest dogs on earth. I think we have 24 locations in 9 different states. We're growing by the minute. And Houndstown, USA is for those of you who don't know, it's a fully interactive doggy daycare. So if your dog, dogs need to be dogs. So what we do is put dogs in proper sock packs, and they are allowed to hump, jump, and dump without being screamed at, yelled at, cans of pennies thrown at them. We do daycare, boarding, grooming. We got a great show tonight. One of the things, the goal of our show, the Dish on Dogs, very clever name, the Dish on Dogs, is we're going to talk about filling the void. We always talk about human needs and emotions and dog needs and emotions. Obviously, dogs are not human, and humans aren't dogs. So humans have needs, and dogs have needs, and they're very different sometimes. So that's going to be the topic of the show. In a minute, I'm going to introduce a very special guest besides our normal crew. But if you want any information about Houndstown USA, you just go online, houndstownusa.com. There's one coming to your neighborhood, whether you like it or not. We're coming to you. So again, if your dog humps, jumps, dumps, it needs an outlet for its anxiety. That's anxiety. All those behaviors that you see your dog doing at home, chewing, barking, scratching, digging, it's all anxiety. A dog needs an outlet. It's not a nice thing. You need to allow your dog to be a dog, and that's what we do at Houndstown USA. A couple of shout-outs. Who do I want to give a shout-out? My good friend Tom Sullivan and his lovely mother Joan in Beverly Hills, Florida, not California, sadly, but they're there. They're faithful listeners. I was just thinking about him the other day. As you get older, you don't know this yet, but you start getting problems. So as you get older, you get stiff. You know, stiff, what I would like to say, stiff in all the wrong places, but that's another story. So rather than go to an orthopedic, whoever takes care of these things, right, I go to my friend Tom Sullivan. He's a retired bomb squad detective. He knows nothing really about chiropractics. But he told me, he goes, when you're limping, because you limp, you get older, you have sore. He goes, just work through it, do the opposite. So your human brain tells you to favor that leg, so you wouldn't limp. So he told me to basically work through my pain.
And he's not qualified.
He's not, I don't know what, he's not qualified to do anything. I don't even think he's qualified to be a bomb detective, but that's neither here nor there.
Listeners.
Right, I might know. No, Joan, your husband's a genius. My point of the matter is, sometimes you can get advice from people that is really, I could have went to a doctor and they probably would have given me prescriptions and a cane and all these other things. His simple advice was, don't favor it, work through the pain.
Well, that's that frozen shoulder syndrome you can get, where the tissue builds up, and if you favor it, then it gets worse.
Exactly. Well, apparently my friend Tom Sullivan knew about this, and I'd taken his advice. I couldn't work out all my different health problems, kinks in the system, but I think that just comes with old age. I don't know. But anyway, I was very grateful for that advice. I think the moral of the story is, listen to people. Sometimes people can give you advice. They don't have to be MDs and all this other crap. So anyway, I thank him for that because I'm much more spry as my friend. All right, so let's get going. So here I am with, of course, Ashley Pizzo, Danielle Janice, right? And our very special guest, for those people who aren't on Facebook, so we have a special guest, retired Nassau County Police Sergeant Scott Brezalier, who is a dog handler, canine handler, his lovely wife Bonnie, and we also have 2 dogs here. One is Squirt, Danielle's dog, and he's just nothing. He's just a dog.
He's just nothing.
I don't like to offend him. Hold his ears. Hold his ears. But he has no advanced degrees in anything. He's just a little mope. And also joining us is this amazing dog, Jaime. So I want to introduce you guys. So welcome to the show, guys.
Welcome,
that's
Mike.
you. That's you,
here.
Scott. Okay,
all right.
I
wasn't have to listen to you in Florida. It's nice to be here in person. Finally.
That's good. All right. Well, we're glad to have you. So tell us. Let's start out. We got all night to talk about this. So let's just talk. You and I met
23 years ago. Over 23 years ago.
And what was that about?
Well, you were my boss back then, working in the Canine unit. You were a great boss. I'm going to say it especially here.
Right.
Of course, I wouldn't say it otherwise.
Right.
But we had a great time. You made our training fun. You really did. And as you always said, if it's not fun, well, the dogs aren't going to learn. We're not going to learn. And we learned a lot from each other. But we always made the training fun, which made the dogs work really well out there. So,
right.
And we know training is so important. We trained every single week, multiple times a week.
Right.
Pretty much we trained every day with
Right.
the dogs.
So one of the interesting things about the canine unit, police canine unit, the academy is as long or longer than the human academy. If I remember correctly, it's 4 to 6 months of training every day.
The initial training was 4 months.
Right, and then you go to specialty training. Talk about that.
Which is another 2 months. My first dog, Bandit, was cross-trained for explosives. That was another 6 weeks that we added on to him. But first you want the dog out there on patrol, get acclimated with the street, get to know their job out there as a patrol dog. And then once we work it out, we just look at the dog's personality, decide whether or not be better as a narcotics dog or a bomb dog. In his particular case, Bandit was very obedient, really relaxed kind of dog, and he definitely fit the mold to be a bomb dog. So that's what we trained him as.
Right. So yeah, we had a lot of fun. I mean, that was the number one criteria, was to have fun, because I always think that fun goes down the leash, so to speak, and having fun with your dog also is. So it should be a fun experience in all parties. But I think what I wanted to highlight is when people see police dogs with police officers driving around with a police dog, they have to understand that those behaviors were achieved 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, for 4 months, and again, in the specialty part of the bomb dog or drug dog or cadaver dog training, that's an addition. It's a specialty. So it's an incredible amount of training. So it's not something that happens quite easily, and there's a lot of components to it. So what was your most exciting? Well, tell us about your experiences. Obviously, you liked it.
Well, one of the things I was thinking of as we were talking is, when I started, I'm going to talk about Bandit because I spent 7 years working with him. And after a couple of years working with the dog, I'm telling you, you can practically feel the dog's heartbeat. You become one. And he knew when we were driving to work, he knew when we were heading to the training grounds, whether it was listening to the road or whatever it was. But Bandit loved to sit up in the vehicle. And they told me, the other canine handler said, over time, he's going to start laying down in the car. He never laid down on patrol. This dog sat up the entire time. The only time he ever laid down in the vehicle, obviously, if I stopped for a while, or driving home, or going to work. That's when
he was always working. He was always alert.
He loved work. He loved to be sitting up, watching things, interacting with people. We had a great time together. Now, one of the things also interesting was, I remember responding to calls. He could tell by the way I talk on the radio, my mannerisms, just feeling me. He knew whether we were going to be looking for a lost child or maybe someone who was running around maybe with a gun that we had to go apprehend. He knew the difference just by the way I was responding, the way I was talking on the radio, and my emotions. He picked that up, and when we got to the call, he kind of followed my directions, but he knew.
Right. And that's an interesting part about it. And, we talk about, like you said, the heartbeat. We talk about reading your dogs, right? One of the things you heard over and over, read your dog. And what that means for the average person listening, they don't really look at their dogs. They see it laying down. But we looked at their respiration, their breathing, their tail, every minutia of their being. And it's not just your dog, it's your partner, right? And Bonnie can address this maybe. So you would take the dogs home, right? So that's what we did. We took the dogs home so they were completely social. And that puts a burden, I'm assuming, on your family. What was that like for you, Bonnie, to have a dog come in?
Bandit was just such a great personality, and he knew the difference between, you know, when he was putting his collar on to go to work and when he was taking his collar off and hanging out, you know, on the floor like a dog.
Right.
And that was something that was very special. You know, there will never be another dog like Bandit. Can I plug my book at this point?
Well, I didn't know you wrote.
Yeah, I wrote a children's book called Bandit Stories. So you can
nice.
go over and like it on Facebook, Bandit Story, order it on Amazon. But people always asked us, what's it like to have a police dog?
Oh, okay.
And it was just having this incredibly well-trained, well-behaved dog, which he was. Although we knew other people in the police department who had dogs who had totally different personalities that weren't like that.
Right.
I think of a few. And his second dog was a totally different personality, not anything like Bandit at all. But I never worried about my kids being around him.
Right. So he was a family member.
Yeah,
it wasn't just a tool for law enforcement.
But he was also he was a police officer, and he did his job, and he knew what his job was like.
And he loved it, yeah. And we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about Bandit. We'll kind of have our conversation about whatever else you want to talk about. So Bandit Story, I didn't know that you wrote a book.
Yeah.
So it's Bandit Story on Amazon. It's kind of cool. We're going to talk a little bit about Bandit later on because I have some thoughts and memories about him too that we'll talk about. We could talk about our days at the diner. Where else we can talk about? Let's really talk about what really police work is all about. Okay, we'll talk about some heroic stories, but let's talk about the diner. Come, join us, the Dish on Dogs. We'll be back in 2 minutes, folks. Facebook, stay with us. Everybody stay with us. Talk to you in a bit. I didn't know you that. Why didn't you tell me that?
Yeah, see, he was fine. Actually, I wrote 3 books.
Oh, nice.
So here's the thing, a testament to doggy daycare, right here.
Right, and that was in 5 minutes.
Right? This has been a week that he's been away from his brother and sister and the other dogs he plays with, and now we let him play with Squirt in the yard for 20 minutes, 15 minutes?
Yeah, it's like literally like 10 minutes.
And look how he's normally calm, but he's excessively calm. He got it out, he feels good.
Jackie watching? Who's watching out there? Anybody? Nobody?
I'm really here.
9 people, wow.
I'm not back in Florida,
Anybody have any questions? Text there's something you want to talk about, text us. Text Ashley.
Just message the video.
Message the video, whatever that means. Message the video. We're going to be back in a minute. We're going to talk to Scott, Bonnie. We're not going to talk to the 2 dogs we have here, but then we're going to take another break and go outside and do all kinds of fun things. But I do want to talk about our temperament test of him and how we missed the tile part. You know what I mean? We missed
With Bandit?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll go over that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I did with the second
Somebody's
dog.
on the phone. Hello? Somebody on there? No.
No, what are you talking about?
My light was going.
All right, 40 seconds.
And then we'll go back to
We're on. Are you watching live? Wait, watching us live?
yeah.
It's weird. We can watch ourselves.
Oh yeah, that's what I do.
And then we post it. Then we'll post it. And it's
I
all.
told you, watch you want to go to work and back.
I know. I wonder if my friend Tommy is watching. He's not on
You usually
Facebook.
give me a shout out. You don't have to now.
Right. He's right here.
Just shout in.
50.
He's bored. He didn't play all day.
No, there's a little piece of sleeping on the desk.
It's potassium shell? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I'm your host, Mike Gould. You're listening to the Dish on Dogs. We're also on Facebook Live, so if those of you out there have Facebook, go to Houndstown Radio on Facebook and watch we're going to do an amazing dog demonstration there, or maybe not so amazing, but we're going to have some fun. We have 2 dogs here. For those of you who are listening and not watching Facebook, we have one therapy dog, Jamie, trained and certified, and we have 1 dog that I don't know. He's not really trained or certified, but still.
But he has potential.
He has potential, and that's what we're going to talk about. At some point, we're going to talk about the different levels of training and what therapy dogs are supposed to do. And for those of you who listen regularly, I usually go. I have an out-of-body experience when I see dogs at the airport, and when I fly on the Southwest Airlines. I call it Noah's Ark. So it's not really an airline. And I'm a dog lover, presumably, although many people don't believe that. I do love dogs. I just don't like sitting them next to them when I'm crammed into a...
Having an
And I'm not
anxiety
sure
attack.
they enjoy being crammed under the front seat and whatever. So we're going to get into that. So I got my friend Scott Bresalia, former Nassau County Police Sergeant and Canine Handler. We worked together in the Nassau County Police Canine Unit. His lovely wife Bonnie and his service dog Jamie. Therapy dog. All right, good. That's what we got to talk about. All right, we were talking earlier before the break about Lucky, and we talk about temperament testing dogs for different lines of work. So we temperament test dogs, right? So I temperament test dogs at Houndstown to see if they're suitable to play in an interactive environment. We temperament test dogs to see if they're qualified to be police dogs. When you think of a patrol dog, you have to think of all the different requirements they have to do in order to think of how social they have to be. They have to be able to jump over a 6-foot wall. They have to be able to crawl. They run 30 miles an hour. They're taught to apprehend people. So it's complicated. It's not simple. And we're taking a dog brain and trying to do human things in a human environment. So, in fact, I'm involved in a couple of court cases where I temperament. There's a controversy. Should you take a dog's breed into? Everybody knows that the bully breeds, pit bulls, Rottweilers, and so forth. And there's a big controversy over that. But so I love pit bull. 20%, 30% of our population at doggy daycare are pit bulls or pit bull mixes. Rottweilers, pit bulls, Dobermans. These are all dogs that are banned. Actually, in Miami, Florida, pit bulls aren't allowed in Miami-Dade.
Yeah.
So somewhere in the middle, but you do, in my humble opinion, you do have to take a dog's breed and stature. So German Shepherds are herding dogs. Pit bulls are fighting dogs. You can't get around it. They were bred to take down bulls. They were bred to lock into bulls and bring them down. So you do have to take the genetic predisposition on some level. It's not the whole part of the puzzle, but it's a point. So the only reason I'm bringing that up is so we used to go, my job was to go to temperament test dogs for the police department. And what we would do is we'd fire gunshots, we'd do all kinds of testing. And that was determined if the dog was a good candidate for the police department. So in this case, many, many years ago, when I was young and naive, we went and temperament tested Scott's first police dog, Lucky. And Bandit. Sorry, where did I get Lucky from? Oh, that was
You called him Lucky.
Oh, right. Oh, I took him out one day for a photo shoot, and I called him Lucky. All right, sorry. So Bandit. So Bandit's is wonderful, amazing. We'll probably put a picture of him on Facebook. But he's this amazing-looking dog, and he passed all of our tests, gunshots. We'd see how retrieval, see if they wanted to retrieve a ball. We did all of this, a pretty comprehensive test. But the one thing what we overlooked, and this is my bad, was we did this testing in his environment where he was, meaning he was always on concrete or dirt. So the moral of the story is he passed all his tests where we were, and he did amazing. We took him to the police department. We did all of his training or parts of his training, only to find out that he went onto a marble floor at the Roosevelt Field Mall, if I remember correctly. Maybe not. You could fill in the blanks.
No, even during training, we had issues with the floor.
Gymnasium,
but we worked it out, and we went through training to get him to overcome his almost like, I wouldn't say disability, his apprehension with the floors. And we worked over and over and over again, played ball on them, showing that he was not going to get hurt. We also did the trust factor. He had to trust me he was not going to get hurt.
Right.
So you have to build up that bond first.
Right.
Where they know you're going to keep them in a safe environment.
Right. But my point is, dogs have phobias that we take for granted. So if a dog never grew up, we live in an artificial world. So dogs grow up in dirt, rocks. We are in this crazy world. We're sitting here at the airport. We're in a bubble, literally a bubble with people going by. And for those of you on Facebook, you see our beautiful dogs here. They're completely... They raise their head, but there's no big reaction. Ah, he bit me. No, I'm only kidding. He's right here, folks. He's right here. So tell us a little bit. We talked about Lucky. He was an amazing dog.
It's still Bandit, but that's...
Bandit. Why do I have this in my head?
Oh my God.
I think I took him out to do a photo shoot, and I used his name. All right, anyway. All right, Bandit, I apologize. So Bandit was Sergeant Scott Bresselier's police service dog, and he had a lot of experiences. Somebody had said, Roosevelt, somebody said there's no greater honor or greater excitement than hunting armed men. And that's what we kind of did for a living, hunted people in a positive way, criminals, obviously. Tell us about our friend, your service dog. Your therapy dog.
Therapy dog.
All right, explain the three different things.
Okay, you have a service dog, you have an emotional support dog, and a therapy dog. Jamie's a therapy dog. Okay, the difference is service dogs provide assistance for somebody who has a disability. And whether they pick up an object for a person, they drop something, if they sit there, they need assistance in a wheelchair, they need to have a wheelchair pulled, assistance with their blind, some type of disability, the dog is a service dog. Those dogs are allowed to go anywhere, anywhere the person can go.
They're assigned to
They're assigned to that
person.
one person. Then you have a therapy dog, which is Jamie. Jamie's a certified therapy dog. These dogs do not have any more rights than any other dog. However, their job is to provide, when you want to say therapy to other people, help people with anxieties. Not me, other people. One of the things I've done already with him, I brought him to a rehab place for people who have drug addiction, alcohol addiction, phobias, bipolar, anxiety, schizophrenia, depression, whatever it is, and we brought them over there, and their thing is for them just to touch the dog, to talk to the dog, to interact with the dog, and it relieves their stresses. Just work with it, helps them with their depression, helps them with their anxiety. So that's a therapy dog. We go out and we help people. Even at the airport, we're here at the airport, people sometimes have anxieties. Maybe their flight got canceled. These dogs are in airports going around to the passengers and stuff prior to getting on board to relax them, to make them feel a little bit
Or a
better.
situation like that, it's not the Ronald McDonald House, but it's like a Ronald McDonald House.
Make-A-Wish.
And the families are staying there while the children are being treated, and maybe their dog's not there, and the children miss a dog, and so Scott can bring the dog in.
Jamie has been there
and visit.
in a place in Florida.
And just before our break, and by the way, on our break, we're going to just jump outside and do play around with the dog. Then what is an emotional support dog?
Okay, emotional support dog is these dogs that people they get, and it's for them only, to give them the comfort. For the handler,
So
not for anybody
So
else.
the therapy, the handlers don't have an issue. They're managing the dog.
Right,
Correct.
but an emotional support dog also doesn't need any special training, so it may not be well behaved.
Right.
Whereas a therapy dog needs to be
Requires.
very well behaved, and a service dog needs to be very highly trained. To open a refrigerator, to turn on a light, to pull a wheelchair.
Right.
Like you said, to sense the chemical changes for epilepsy or diabetes. But an emotional support dog could just be a little fluffy dog that somebody holds, and it makes them feel
The
better.
handler feel better.
Yeah.
He
Right.
certifies. He had to go through testing to see whether or not he can actually be a
Tolerate
therapy dog.
all
You
these
can't
things.
sit there and have a dog that's going to be fearful of people.
But I think here's the problem that I have. I have a couple of problems with it. We'll talk after our 7-minute break. But as we already talked about, anybody can do. There is no requirement to prove any of this. So I could bring the craziest aggressive dog onto an airplane and just say it's my therapy dog. So regardless of what people say, there's no validation process. Is this true or not?
Well, from what I've done the research on it, yeah, there's
All
a
right.
lot of limitations of what you can ask somebody.
I know. So that's kind of a funny thing. And so I'm going to talk about it because I also think about people that are afraid of dogs. And I want to talk about this. We're going to look at Jamie. We're going to look at Squirt. We're going to go outside for 7 minutes, play around. Facebook people, watch. We'll talk on the show or talk on the other side about all of this crazy stuff. We'll see you in 7 minutes. All right, you guys go out, and then I'll be out in a sec. My photographer will be with me.
I'll tell you, time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, boogies.
All right, let's go. All right, guys. Be careful. Follow me, folks. We're going to look at Jamie, and we're just going to see dogs. This is no great. They're not going to be jumping through hoops of fire. What you're going to see is dogs that can tolerate a lot of crazy things in our world. So why don't you head over to your little bench there. So let's say hello to Jamie. Come around here. So this is Jamie, and as you can see, he's got his vest on, and he's got to be able to tolerate. Airports are insane. There's things happening here. There are people. There are sounds. There are odors. You know what this carpet smells like? It's disgusting. There's sliding glass doors. Do you think a dog understands the movement of a glass door? Of course not. So we have our dog Jaime out here. We have our dog Squirt, and we're just going to play around. Come on into our little world. And what we're teaching Squirt to do is not be distracted by our squirrel. And we're working on it. And don't forget, dog behavior is a work in progress. Scott's working with his dog over there. We're working with our dog. Throw me in the squeaky toy. Come on over here, Scott. We don't have a lot of time. Get it, put him back, correct him a little. Good. Come on over here. So what we're trying to do is when we see the dog's tolerance, they have to tolerate, especially a therapy dog. He has to be able to have people approach him and maybe run up to him and go like that and touch him without getting bit. So somebody shouldn't do that, by the way. News alert. You shouldn't be going up to dogs you don't know and touching them, feeling their paws. That's unnatural for a dog. I wouldn't go up to a person and start tickling their feet. That's weird. So we have our dogs, 2 dogs. Why don't you put him up onto the bench? And all we're doing, so this might not, put him up on your bench. And then just leave him. And then let's see that car go by. So the point is we're doing things to trigger the dog's behavior. As you can see here, Jaime is handling this quite nicely. This little dog is Squirt's handling it quite nicely. This is my latest invention. I couldn't drop off cats. I wanted to drop a box of cats off at the airport, but they wouldn't let me. So now we have this little Rocky raccoon. Whoa! So you can see our friend Squirt. His ears are forward. So is Jaime. Their ears are forward. You talked about reading a dog. We're watching. Do you think they know that this is an electric car? Their prey drive is being triggered. Well, they can't get up. They can't chase this because if this was a cat, the dog chasing the cat gets hit by a car. This applies to every dog. It doesn't have to be a therapy dog. No dog. This is basic obedience. This is not advanced obedience. Let's see, what else can we do? So then if Danielle gets low over here, the dog will come to her. Go ahead. And that's it. So her body language triggers the dog. It's not by talking. We don't talk, touch. Go ahead, put your dog over maybe on the bed. Okay. Whatever he can do comfortably. On the bed would be probably better. Whatever you want to do. All right. Good. Right. So what we're doing by doing this is just putting the dog in a place. And he shouldn't need any kind of, and he just has to be reinforced. Because we want to make sure, again, in fairness, this is Jaime's first day up on a bench like this. So dogs don't even understand it. They're seeing through it, so they don't even understand what you're doing. To us, you can put your dog over on that bench. That bed. And this is what we do. So what I would be doing if I was training these dogs, they'd have to stay, providing their needs were met. They were played with, they were fed, they went to the bathroom. They'd have to stay here for a couple of hours. 2 hours. If you do search and rescue, that's another type of dog. Search and rescue dogs have to lay in one spot on a tailgate of a truck for 2 hours. So this is, we got 2 minutes. So this is fundamentally, you see our little dog here, he's already laid down. This is not advanced obedience. This is about your pet at home should do this within, 2 days. How long have you worked with Squirt? Since May. So, once a day, if that much, once a week. But the point is, this is simple. All dogs, this should be the standard for every dog. No, not special dog, every dog. That's nice. All right, we're going to go back in, kids. The break is over. Time flies. Right?
Fun, right?
Yeah. Good. Nice job. No problem.
Usually you sleep in my bed.
How many people are watching us?
What's that?
Oh, we got all these people watching us.
Oh, yeah. And then they'll watch it during the week. Talk about County Park at the Common. It's best 7 minutes. Okay. Oh, I got some definitions here. Good. My producer did this. Are we on or what?
Yeah, we're live.
Oh, okay.
Let's not forget about the orange stuff you want to talk about.
You'll talk about that. I'm going to reintroduce you after I do my little spiel. It's nice you can put this on his Facebook page. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Dish on Dogs. I'm your host, Mike Gould, mayor and founder of Houndstown, USA, home to the happiest dogs on earth. Since our inception, we've taken care of 1.2 million dogs. So I used to say 500,000 and 1 million, now 1.2 million. Facebook people, all right, Facebook Live. I'm going to reintroduce my very special guests. We have retired Sergeant Scott Brezalier, his wife Bonnie, and his wonderful service therapy dog. Therapy dog. I'm going to get this right if it's a life of me, And this is one of my problems, actually, with all this stuff. There's so many definitions and labels that we put on things, so it's a little confusing to me, and I don't even remember people's names or dogs' names. So anyway, welcome back, folks, to the Dish on Dogs. Tell us why. I noticed that he has orange. Where did you get Jamie? What's his story?
So Jaime, he's also a shelter dog. Came from one of the shelters in Florida, and I adopted him. Wound up adopting him out based on his personality, knowing that he was a good candidate for a therapy dog. Mm-hmm. And so I adopted him out. I took him home, and we've been working together. One of the things was I had to have him for 6 months time period to get him certified. This gave us an opportunity to learn off each other and acclimate him to different environments. Mm-hmm. Let's just jump to the color first. So his name originally was Charlie, and when I adopted him out, and I just, for whatever reason, that wasn't the name I wanted to name the dog. Unfortunately, back in February of 2018, there was a school shooting down in Florida, Parkland, and one of my friend's daughter was one of the victims of Parkland, Jaime Guttenberg, and it was always orange ribs for Jamie. Our favorite color was orange. So I asked her father, Fred, if I can name the dog after his daughter. He gave me permission to do so, and her favorite color was orange, so he wears orange collar, orange vest, orange leash wherever he goes.
No, that's a beautiful story. So that's a good
memory of her.
Right? No, that's great. That's true. So you work. So let's talk. So let's say. So that was that in honor of your friend's daughter. That's horrible. That's a horrible story, but a nice testimonial, and that was a very nice thing for you to do. Therefore, we have the orange collar. And so before the break, we were talking about the different types of dogs. So I got my definitions. An emotional support dog is a companion animal that a medical professional, which is absolute BS, because you could do that you can just call up and get, anybody listening who wants to subvert the system, you can call and spend $150 and get yourself a vest delivered, and you'll have an emotional support dog. So that's one of my problems with a lot of these things. So therapy dogs is a much higher level and it actually requires training. But there's no enforcement, from what I understand. So here you are. What's your opinion? Emotional support dogs and then therapy dogs. So, do you think that there should be more regulations, or?
Well, the thing is, when you walk around with a dog that has the vest on, therapy dog, do people look? I think that a lot of people, maybe people who decide that they're just going to put a vest on a dog and call it whatever they want to call it, so they can walk around different places. Again, emotional support dogs and therapy dogs, they have restrictions on them. They cannot go into any place that your personal dog can't go. If you want to bring them into a certain place, you have to ask permission of the owners of the establishment whether or not they'll allow the dog to come in, and there's still restrictions. Fortunately, down in Florida, it's pretty much a dog-friendly area down there, so they allow you to eat with your dogs outside the outside restaurants. As soon as you sit down, most of these places will come over with a bowl of water.
Right. Well, your area of Florida, there's quite a few areas, as we alluded to on the first segment, that don't even allow dogs in there, certain dogs in there.
Right,
So
correct.
Miami-Dade, Miami-Dade, Broward County, as they ban dogs. So what kind of that makes no sense. But we don't need to get on that whole bully breed. I want to focus on your experience, our experience. So back in the day, I don't know if your wife knows the expression Dinah Romeo. Is she familiar with that expression, Dinah Romeo? Oh, good. She's a married man. So I was a Dinah Romeo. My friend Tom Sullivan down in Florida. We're Dinah Romeos. We go from Dinah. Tell us all. Dinah to Dinah.
Dinah, I'm sorry, I didn't understand your accent.
Oh my God, I answer. Dinah Romeo.
Hey, listen, we have to eat, though.
Right, we had to eat, right. So we spent a lot of time, although we spent a lot of time, maybe 10 minutes a day fighting crime, we also spent a lot of time in the diner discussing tactical maneuvers and whatever the hell we were.
Right, we're not just eating.
No, not just eating. So when you see a bunch of cops sitting in a diner, they're not just eating. They're doing highly confidential. They're not just checking out the waitresses, although that may happen. Anyway, I was a Dinah Romeo. Scott wasn't. He's a very good guy, really. So this is one of the reasons that we have bonded, so to speak, over the years. I don't speak to many of my colleagues. I don't go to any reunions. I have a different opinion of the police department than Scott may, and I don't want to embarrass him, but on one of the shows, I described being a member of the Nassau County Police Department as working for the mafia. The only difference was they didn't break my legs or they didn't throw me in the East River. But that was my relationship. You had a much finer relationship, and you did a fine job. And when working in the Canine unit, you were one of the. You're right. We worked together. I was in charge of the unit, and you were one of the best canine handlers there were because you were passionate about what you did, and you were very successful. You recovered drugs.
Yeah, drugs, guns.
Criminals.
Quite a number. Actually, I say all the guys I work with are really good. And we train hard.
Come on, that's not true. You're too nice.
A lot of the guys I work with, we all work
Well,
hard.
you are nice, especially.
You had to be proactive. Right. Being in the Canine unit, it's not a reactive unit, it's a proactive unit. You're listening to the radio, you know the calls to go on. And you, as a supervisor, you encouraged us also to make sure we did listen to the radio. You wanted us out on those calls before they called us. And that was the best way how to get an apprehension anyway. Because time is definitely not always on your side. You need to get down to that call. Because, as you know, searching around for somebody, the longer we wait, the more contamination that can happen at the scene. So we want to get there as quickly as possible.
Right. One of the biggest things I enjoyed about it was because I was the boss of the unit, I was allowed to use my walkie-talkie, and I could just get helicopters to show up if I wanted. So I described it, and again, I described it as adult men and women, actually, men and women, playing hide and seek for a lot of money. And, with all the toys, so when I was 10 years old, I had to have a pretend walkie-talkie, and I'd pretend helicopter. I go, but in the police department, I could call a helicopter. They'd come flying over within 3 minutes. I could call a Marine Bureau boat, and they'd come. So that part was a lot of fun, because just being kids, it was...
When you joined the NYPD, what did they say to you? Welcome to the greatest show on earth.
Right.
Front row seats.
Right, that's what they say about law enforcement in general, particularly NYPD.
And then to be a boss, you get to be in charge of all the fun stuff.
We work very closely with the helicopter because they had a good vantage point for us. They always kept us in sight as well, so they knew where we were as well. Obviously, we knew where they were. I worked very closely with aviation on a lot of the calls.
Right. And what I like to do, we used to challenge them. They had the FLIR, the forward-looking infrared, on their cameras, and they would detect heat from the sky with this FLIR system that every helicopter would do. And I would challenge the helicopter to try to find who we were looking for, who could find them first. Without fail, a dog could find it because there was a lot of obstacles to the FLIR. They couldn't see through certain things. So if a suspect was hiding under a car, for example, the helicopter wouldn't pick that up. A dog would. The helicopter picks up hot odor, deer or whatever rodents are out there. But anyway, that was fun. Let's talk now. So that was your police career. Then you retired to the Sunshine State, and you're there on an undisclosed location. You're in the witness protection program, so we're not going to talk about where you are or what you're doing. But you do have this beautiful dog, And tell us about, what motivates you to do this with this dog, Jamie. You already told us the nice part about naming him.
Right. It's just great to being able to take this dog out to help people, comfort people, and especially working with the children. It's just to put a smile on these children's faces, and even publicly, wherever we go with the dog, people always are drawn to come over. They see the dog out there, they want to come over and pet the dog. And it's great for him because he loves people, especially children. You see his whole body. We talked about before reading a dog. You can read him. Anybody can read him. You can see his body language. He just wakes right up, especially when he sees a child.
Right.
And that's great. It's important to know he was the right selection to be a therapy dog.
Right.
Because he wants to be with people. And I'm not sure what gets more comfort, him or the people. But he just loves it, and I see the expressions. I see people relax. One of the things, I had a lady in one of the places I was at, one of the rehab places, and she told me she was afraid of dogs when I was in there. And I'm not going to pressure them. They have to be comfortable with the dog. I brought the dog back over. I was doing 2 rounds where I let the people touch the dog, and I brought the dog over to her, and it was her choice whether or not to touch it. I'm not going to force my dog on anybody. She reached out and she started petting the dog, and I kept moving along. I didn't say much about it. I came back a second time to see, want me to bring the dog to you? She said yes. I brought the dog, and she told me she was feeling a lot of anxiety. So I said, I'll take the dog. But she said, no, he's helping me.
No, that's a great story.
And before I left, by the time I left there, she had no issues with petting
Right.
Jamie, which I felt really good about, because here's somebody who is for treatment for anxiety and all, and this dog helped her out.
Right. No, that's amazing. And we kind of know that. And on the second break, we're going to take 2 minutes, folks, and then go talk about that. What dogs do for humans. Scott obviously was the right match for the dog as well. I don't like people and children, so I couldn't do this. So we're going to join me. Stay after the break, 2 minutes, and we'll be back. Oh, yeah, he's going to sneak.
It's a sign removal.
Hi,
Yeah, exactly.
Facebook guy. Yeah,
Listen, I watched this.
We do
Well,
this
and the good
thing.
thing is, you chose Jamie because of his personality to be a therapy dog. You didn't train him to be mellow or
Right, that's important.
Right, exactly.
It has to be there.
Right,
All
you're
right,
not
well, let's
forcing him to
talk
be a
about
therapy
that.
dog.
That's
Well, that's
He
like I said, the
has
police
that
dog, the one dog that he had,
Careful.
he was great with elderly,
I'll
he
get
was great
bit by
with
the
children.
Doberman.
The second dog,
You got stuff moving around. What's he doing?
Right.
He's
Yeah.
laying on the
The
floor.
second dog
He
that
doesn't
he
know
had,
you.
the dog would growl at me in my house, and it was like a totally different personality.
So there you go, hanging around. He's still laying there.
I got it. I understand.
We'll talk about that, about Home Depot and what I've done with him. With
Yeah,
some of the
we'll talk
testing.
about that. We got to, where the time is flying here. We needed this next second segment.
That was big. The Home Depot was real big, working the dog there.
Dave Seeley said he's naming his next female dog Dinah
What's
Romeo.
this?
I know.
What?
Dave Seeley
Dinah.
said he's naming his next female dog Dinah Romeo.
That's
Dinah Romeo, I like that. Dave,
Dinah,
good. I like that. That's me.
Exactly, Dinah. D-I-N-A.
Dinah Romeo.
They
All
make
right.
fun of how I talk, so.
Yeah, I got to apologize to people in Florida. I'm like talking a different language.
He was
I
out
get
there
it.
moving the sign. Did he ever move?
No, I get
No,
it.
they don't move.
Neither did Squirt.
He's definitely a.
And I think
He's
that's
a
a way of
mellow
selecting
dog.
dogs to be
Right, but you-
therapy
right,
dogs, because
exactly.
based on their
It's not-
natural
But my
behavior.
biggest problem, here's my problem, we'll talk about it, is when you project things on a dog that's unnatural for them. To kind
Most
of,
people do.
They
We know
do.
that. We know
Like
that.
clothes,
huh?
My clothes.
like clothes.
Right, well, even their personality. Not all dogs want to be stuffed under a seat on a
Right.
Southwest Airlines. Some dogs are perfectly content. A lot of dogs don't want to do this. They want to run and chase things and stuff. It's when you get them out of balance.
Listen, I was impressed with him. He had a lot of interest in that blue raccoon thing, but he didn't go after it.
Right, but
Yeah.
that should be part of like day one training. Honestly, those kinds of things. This should be.
Listen, there was a live rabbit in
Huh?
the back. He was a live rabbit in the backyard where I was staying, and he could care. He didn't care.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Dish on Dogs. I'm your host, Mike Gould, Mayor of Houndstown, USA, home to the happiest dogs on earth, where we allow dogs to hump, jump, and dump. Fully interactive daycare environments, right? We have dogs. We do not breed discriminate, but we do take breeds into consideration. So how's that, folks? So those of you in Broward County, we don't breed discriminate, but we take the breed into consideration. Obviously, there's herding dogs, there's hunting dogs, there's fighting dogs, there's all dogs that have genetic predisposition. So I usually get all wound up at this point because I do feel, I see therapy dogs, I see dogs. Let's just say this: forget that. I see animals at airports and on airplanes, and I get a knot in my stomach, honestly, because I see people interacting with them. You can just look at the dogs and see that they're
Not comfortable.
Thank you. Jump in here, Ashley. They're not comfortable.
Right.
So before the break, we were talking about, we know dogs, by nature of being dogs, release pheromones, right? This is a scientific fact. You pet the dog,
Right.
the dog's
A
tail
lot
wags.
of animals in general, besides dogs.
Right,
they use them
exactly.
all the time.
So they make us feel good. But that doesn't mean we have to project our anxiety onto a dog who's supposed to, there's a
Right.
fine balance of what a dog should be taught to do and allowing it to be a dog. But we were talking about Scott's dog. By the way, I'm here with retired Sergeant Scott Brasileir, his lovely wife Bonnie, and his therapy dog, Jamie. But you made a very interesting point, Professor. You said, which is unusual, no, I'm only kidding. No, we've been doing this a long time. You've made two good points. No, but really, it was the selection. So we see Jamie, and he is very tolerant of noise, all the things. He likes people, like Scott said. He likes children. But we also know that children are the number one victims of dog bites. So it's very important that the handler understands that. And he selected a dog, not try to browbeat the dog into liking children. So that's the problem. When you take a human being or an animal and you try to make them something they're not, that's where I have the big problem with. If a dog is happy, there are certain dogs that are pro-made for this kind of thing. They're just completely mellow, very social, and it's somewhat unusual because most dogs aren't that. But so you can train, we talk about training, you can teach behavior, but you can't change a personality of a dog. Just like humans, we can send kids to school, but you can't take an introverted child and make them extroverted necessarily. So anyway, Scott's back here, so we know that part. We know that, and he selected that. For those of you watching on Facebook, we have Jamie here. They both had a long day. Squirt's under there. But we're in perfect balance here. You don't hear everything is balanced. So Squirt lifted his head up. Right, we got to check him. I think we had to check Jamie's pulse. He's not moving. But anyway, so the point is, these do incredible things. There's a fine line in my mind where the pressure on dogs to do certain things, particularly by unqualified people. So this emotional support stuff is absolute BS. If you can go online, and we've talked about it, we're not going to talk about it now, but you can go online, ESAR or something it's called, at some ridiculous place. They tell you spend $150, they tell you they're going to send you a vest and some certificate in the mail. So this is absurd to me. And sooner or later, and it does happen, you talk about some of these instances.
Yeah, we've had people, as far as I've just seen it on the news that people have gone on airplanes, they're sitting down, somebody sits next to them, and the dog jumps up and bites the guy in the face on an airplane, because they're emotional support dogs, and whether they should have had another chair for the dog, and the dog was sitting on the person's lap and it wasn't supposed to. There's not enough regulation, and like we were talking about before, a lot of people don't know the difference between a therapy dog and an emotional support dog, because I would look and see a dog in a vest and automatically think, oh, they're trained, they're going to be good with people. And that's where I feel like a lot of people get into these instances. I've had friends that are waitresses and get bit by emotional support dogs because the dogs just aren't
Right, but wouldn't you say that that's a human assumption? If you see a dog with a vest, it's approachable. Right.
Or just in general, people see dogs and they just want to go up and touch them.
Right.
So,
it's
due to the handler to manage the dog and know what's appropriate and not based on their
and
dog.
a lot of people don't know how to approach dogs.
No, and they don't. And, you can't, we talk about this a lot, that you can't teach the general public, everybody, how to approach a dog. So you have to make sure your dog is social enough to be approached by a person.
And you have to protect your dog from the crazy people that think they know about dogs.
But,
so
we try to teach people.
Right.
And
that's
our
you have to
mission
manage.
in the world is to go out and
Right.
teach people, don't bonk my dog on the head.
Right, exactly.
Because when you bonk him on the head and he goes up and
Of
bites you
course.
on the hand,
Right, exactly.
maybe the next time they won't do that.
Exactly. All right, that's exactly right. We only have about 4 minutes left. I have to talk, or we're going to get back to some of the training that Scott has done, particularly in different environments. So we talk about bringing dogs that have no idea. They don't understand reflections. They don't understand shadows. They don't understand PA systems. They don't understand noise. We live in a crazy, demented world. We just do. But we have what we call inattentional blindness. We don't see things. We stop hearing car sirens. We stop hearing airplanes, because if we looked at everything we heard, we would never get from point A to point B. But dogs are just, they're starting out with a baseline of knowing nothing. So Scott, with the last few minutes, and then tell me about some of the socialization parts of it that you did with Jaime.
Well, one of the things is you have to make sure that these dogs are not going to have environmental issues. So one of the things I brought him to Home Depot was really good as far as allowing the dog coming in. And I actually asked the manager, hey, I'd like to drop some lumber and pipes and stuff, make some noises the dog's not used to see his reaction. Is it okay for the dog to react a little bit? Of course, we would. You get startled too, but we can't wind up having start up in the lumber department and end up in the garden department.
Right.
So the dog can back up a little bit, but we don't want him to retreat and go away. And once they get exposed to all this, a great time to bring a dog is during Halloween time. We have all those different mannequins and stuff that make noises. See how the dog reacts to that.
Right.
And the other thing is socialization. You have to get these dogs out in the general public. You have to see how you have to observe the dog first.
Right.
You just don't put them on people and let the dog go up. Watch the dog in the environment. Even here, coming to the airport, it took him a couple of minutes for him to get acclimated to the environment.
Course, because
he was never here before.
Well, every environment has an environmental odor. You were talking before how your dog knew where he was, going certain places. Every place has an environmental odor that dogs understand, but we don't. A third of their brain is dedicated completely to scent and odor. So you did an amazing job. I'm glad we can debate. Well, like I said, when we talk about the American Disabilities Act, which I'm a big supporter of course, but sometimes things are just unrealistic. So the one I talk about is the handicap parking. It's really people that take advantage of that, right? So when I go to the gym or the supermarket, somebody parks in a handicap parking spot and they elbow me to get the shopping cart, running to the shopping cart. That means that space is not being utilized for somebody who really needs it, the person with a disability. And in this case, dogs are being taken now, and they're sending $150 to get this vest that says it's and the average public doesn't know the work that you did with Jaime, the therapy dog, and nobody's doing that. So these emotional support dogs, again, it's undermining the system to the point where a dog like Jaime isn't going to be allowed in, or it's just not, because there's too much confusion, there's no enforcement of the rules. So it's frustrating to me. And I like dogs just to be dogs. I love dogs because I pet them, their tail wags, they lick your face, and that's all I need. I don't need a dog to jump through hoops. I don't need it really personally to travel with me, although I'm petrified of flying when the plane's bouncing around. I have other scotch and other medications that I'll take to balance that out. The last remaining minutes or seconds, we won't have a time to talk about our friend from the
Taylor.
She is a cancer survivor, 10-year-old. We had a fundraiser for her. She was a beautiful girl, and it was really heartwarming. We had Zooming Rosie out.
Yeah, she was there to represent Campaign One at a Time.
Campaign One at a Time. This is an amazing organization.
And it started, the founder pretty much just started on the side, and he just one at a time. One kid they would try to sponsor at a time, and now it's kind of blowing up, which is awesome. So
we took her out from California, and it was really an amazing
Our
experience.
customers came out.
We had a great
fun time.
barbecue, picnic, Rosie, dogs, kids. It was really heartwarming to see that. So I do have a heart, folks. I do. I actually got a little emotional. I did an interview on WABC, and I had to stop myself from crying, because it was an emotional story. Okay. Anyway, Scott Brezzalier, his lovely wife Bonnie, joining us from the Sunshine State, the location we can't tell you. Jaime, I think the dog's name was changed to protect his innocence. He's here. We did a nice episode. Thank you for listening. Next Monday night, live. I don't know what the hell we're going to be talking about, but join us next week, Monday, 8 p.m., Facebook Live. Thanks, folks, for watching.